Hello, David Clarke here from DVC Training. This is just a quick follow-up to the tutorial I did about making subtitles with EDIUS 11 and Acorn Acoustica. Specifically, I said I'd let you know if I found a simpler way of splitting up these lines rather than popping into Notepad. And I did. So what I needed to do to fix this was to make a subtitle template that's got 2 lines in it. And it's pretty simple to do. Now I'm just going to go to a spare sequence, right-click and create a new Vistitle Express clip. This is just so I can actually get into Vistitle. Then I'm going to take the text tool and draw out a box. And I'm just going to type some gibberish into it. Now because I've drawn out a box, the text automatically reflows into 2 lines. Then all you've got to do is position it somewhere. You set the typeface or that kind of thing, which I'll explain a bit more about in a second, but essentially you've got it ready. Now what I've got to do is save it as a template. Now down here you have the timeline area, which shows you everything that's actually in the title. If you come here to the corner and click, it changes into the templates. I'm going to go to the subtitles and I'm going to add my own category. Now you don't have to do that, but I'm just going to do it so I've got my own little category I can put my own templates in. And then all I've got to do is say add to library. Now you might find add to library is not lit up. If it isn't, you probably haven't got the text selected. So make sure you select the text and then add to library will be lit up. But there we are. I've now created a template with a couple of lines of text in it. So now come out of Vistitle and save it. Now that's made this title, which is irrelevant. I don't need this title. I was literally just putting it there so I could get into Vistitle and set up a template. Now I'm going to go back to my original sequence. And I'm going to go to the subtitle, just choose any old line, click on this to go to templates and select my template. You'll notice my DVC category is there. There's my template, double click, that has now become 2 lines. All I've got to do now is press the Apply to All button. And then all the subtitles have become 2 lines. I've now got 2 lines of subtitle in here without going anywhere else. One of the suggestions I had from somebody in the comments was, suppose you had a line like that and you want to split it, can't you just press Enter? Which doesn't work. Let's undo that. Or Shift and Enter like you would in a Word document. Answer, no, that doesn't work. See, Shift Enter does actually put in extra lines, but it still doesn't put in the time code. So you then got to start adding in the time code, which is a lot of faff you don't need. You could also pop into here and you can start moving them around and so on. But again, that was more faffing. What I really wanted is something where I could just click one button and it will go over 2 lines. And this is it. Literally make up a template and use that. Of course, now I've made up that template, it's there for all time. So I don't have to make it up again. I could have gone a bit further with the template and customized it a bit more. So let me come out of that and go back into this. Open up Vistitle. Now the first thing you have to do is to put this in the right place. So I just grabbed hold of it and dragged it so the bottom of the text was down there at the bottom of the safe area. But I could have put it anywhere, obviously. You'll notice that when I'm moving around here in Vistitle, I get all these different guides coming up. So particularly as I go over the middle there, you notice a big yellow line popping up, which means that the middle of my subtitle is lined up with the middle of the screen. So there's nice stuff like that. But even if you can't see those, sometimes they don't pop up depending on where you've actually dragged it, you can actually line things up very easily, either by using some buttons up here or right-clicking. So, for example, this button up here will align it to the screen's horizontal center. So I've roughly put it how high I want it, click on that and it'll put it in the center. That button will put it in the vertical center, so whack that and we'll bung it straight in the middle. Notice there are keyboard shortcuts there for both of them. So select it, click on H and it puts it in the horizontal center. If you right click you can go to Align Objects and then you've got these things here. One of them will put it right in the middle. That one will do horizontal or vertical center. In terms of the actual look of the typeface, now if this was going onto YouTube, it wouldn't really matter because YouTube would just take the text and display it in a YouTubey way. So it doesn't matter how it looks in Vistitle, it could be written in Comic Sans, it could be written in Windings or whatever. It would still come out as text at the other end. So for YouTube subtitles, I don't even bother. If you want to burn them in, of course, you might want a particular style. So in this case here, you can click on it. You can change your typeface up here to be something else. You can obviously change the size of it. Now, because I drew out that text box in the first place, if you change the size, it changes the wrapping. Now you can come up here and click on this thing and make it left justified or right justified or centered. And if they aren't shown because your screen is a little bit cramped, so for example, if I unmaximize it and make it a bit smaller, I can't see those things. We can get to them by going to the little chevrons up there, and then that brings up a menu from which you can choose it. Obviously, it's easier if you can see them. When it comes to the look of the text, you have a bunch of pre-made styles down here. Now to change it, you come over to this section. You can see here you've got lots of little different tabs up here. The second one is to do with the look. And you can see you've got face and outline. Face is the colour of the letters, so I could change that. Outline is the line around the edge. Now you can't see it here because this has got a black background, and I decided to put a black outline on it. If I decided to put in something else, like a white outline or a yellow outline, obviously that would show up. But I tend to like black outlines. You can add in more things, so if you click on this and add, you can put in a shadow. Now it's automatically made the shadow white, and I like a black shadow, and I'd like it to be semi-transparent. So to change the transparency, come down to this slider here and start dragging. You'll notice the A, or alpha, changes and you get a semi-transparent shadow. Now again, you can't see it on the main screen here because it's got a black background, but I can see it up here in the preview window. Now normally if you're in Vistitle, you'll have whatever the video is behind it. And of course I put my title on a blank timeline, so that's why it's black. There's nothing behind it. But you do have some buttons up here which can let you show other things. So that will show you whatever the video is in EDIUS, and this will show you a black background or a checkered background. So if you just click it once, it comes up checkered. Click it once again and it comes up black. If you stick a checkered background up there, you can actually start to see stuff like the shadows and all the other stuff in there. You want to add something else? Well, click on this and say you can add in a bit of depth. Now once you get into a bit of depth, you can pull around on the numbers to change the angle and so on, and change the colour if you want to. And if you don't want any of these things, you can just delete them. So in fact, I'm going to do just that. Go back to a typeface with an edge on it. So there we are. I'm going to leave the shadow on, make it a bit bigger, come to the template editor, and let's just add that to the library. And we'll call it Subtitle with Shadow. Now come back into EDIUS, open up my original subtitles, go back to templates, choose Subtitle with Shadow, and apply all. And now I've got a subtitle with a shadow on there. Now again, I wouldn't have had to do any of that customizing if I'm going off to YouTube, because YouTube simply doesn't use any of that stuff. The main thing I wanted to do for this video was just to show you the fact that there is actually a dead easy way to do 2 lines without faffing around in Notepad. Just make up a template that's 2 lines and apply that. Of course, you've still got to edit the subtitles. I mean, there's mistakes inside of here. I didn't fix the slightly overlapping time codes inside of Acoustica. And for instance here, well, it says acorn, whereas actually the software is acon, and so on. But yeah, sorting out the line thing, dead easy. Another thing worth mentioning in this video, I think, is about training for Vistitle. I've got a couple of free Vistitle tutorials on my website that I made, which are also on my YouTube channel, and these are done with Vistitle 2. Now I'm going to go through them and just see how relevant they are to Vistitle 3 Express, but most of it so far seems to be the same. There are little things like, for example, let's open up Vistitle again. Now in my tutorial I talk about there being a button to switch between Edit View and Animation View. Well, there isn't a button there now, but there's some text over the other side of the screen which do exactly the same things. Actually, the text is pretty more obvious. If you've got multiple layers, it defaults to the top layer being at the top. In Vistitle 2 it used to be the other way around, and I'd have to click a switch to change it. So little things like that, but most of it's pretty much the same. I've also got a training course that was done by SGDV Video, which you can order from my website, which is a comprehensive tutorial about Vistitle. Again, done in Vistitle 2. Now the person who makes it, Jerry, might be making one with Vistitle 3, but we don't know yet and not sure when it might arrive. So I've got his Vistitle 2 tutorial available on my website. If you want to get an idea of the way he does his tutorials, click at the link at the bottom of my webpage and it'll take you to Jerry's YouTube channel, where he has got a few free tutorials. Some of the free tutorials are to do with extra plugins you won't get with the Express version, but most of it I think is still relevant. Now on top of that, another place to look would be Vistitle's own tutorials. They've got a YouTube channel and they've got a lot of tutorials there which were all made with older versions. So again, they won't be exactly like Vistitle 3, but a lot of the basics, like I said, are the same. They haven't done any up-to-date ones yet, but I think these will help you with the basics. And yeah, looking at this interface here, which is actually from Vistitle 1, it's pretty similar to the Vistitle Express interface, just not exactly the same. There's no talking in any of these tutorials, it's basically videos with just captions. But again, it's another way of maybe trying to learn a bit of Vistitle 3 stuff until some proper Vistitle 3 tutorials come along. But anyway, I just thought I'd mention these tutorials for those of you who've just got EDIUS 11 with Vistitle 3 and want to learn how to use it. It's a very good program, but like everything, there's stuff you have to learn about it. And until there are some proper Vistitle 3 tutorials, these might be a good starter. Anyway, I hope you found that information useful. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Obviously go to my website www.dvctraining.co.uk for more information. The links to the tutorials I mentioned are in the description below, and I'll see you next time!